Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our council meeting for April 7th, 2020. Council, this is a very brand new format for us, but I'm glad and kind of proud in a way of saying we're able to broadcast our public council meeting out through the internet via the YouTube channel of the City of Mount Pearl. So welcome, everybody. What I'd like to do, though, is just do a quick little roundtable of introductions before we start with the agenda, starting with the Deputy Mayor, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members and staff. Nice to see you all.
Lucy, we'll do it in seniority, guys. How's that sound?
Thanks, Mayor Dave. I'm here and looking forward to having our first meeting on this format, and thanks.
Andrew?
Good afternoon, Mayor Dave and council and senior staff. Certainly looking forward to the meeting today, and it'll be interesting to try this new format. I figure we'll all be technical geniuses by the time this is all over.
We might be using this in 10 years' time, for heaven's sakes.
You never
know. Not because of the pandemic.
I hope not.
Hope not, yeah. And who would be next? Councillor Fry, please.
Hi, everybody. This is
Hi, Isabel, welcome.
certainly interesting to do, but you know, where there's a will, there's a way, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got to work together to get through these times. Who's next? Councillor Power, please. Kind of proud in a way of saying we're able to broadcast the public council meeting through the internet.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see everybody, even if it's virtually. Glad to be here for our public council meeting, the first one that I guess we're going fully live on the YouTube channel. So let's make it a good one.
Well, from the upper end of Park Avenue down to the lower end of Park Avenue, Bill Antle.
Yeah, thank you very much. Councillor Bill Antle, I'm looking forward to it. I'm after watching all Netflix, so now people can watch us on council. Thank you.
And let's just go quickly through staff, starting with you, Mona.
Hi.
That's Mona Lewis. Jerry.
Hi, Your Worship. It's Jerry Antle. I'm the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works for the City of Mount Pearl. Looking forward to our first live video conference meeting. Thank you.
Jason Collins.
Hi, Council and everybody. I'm Jason Collins, Director of Community Development. Well, this is a pleasure.
Welcome, Jason. And Cassie Pittman.
Hi, thank you. Cassie Pittman, Manager, Marketing, Communications and Economic Development and Acting Director of Corporate Services. It's nice to use our YouTube channel again. So
yeah.
Thanks to everyone.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Can I have a motion, please, to accept the agenda?
I move.
Moved by Councillor Stoyles and seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Contraminded, and that would be carried. Well done. Thank you very much. Folks, you see the minutes there for March 10th, 2020. Would anybody please like to comment if they see any errors or omissions? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion, please, to adopt the March 20th minute. The March 10th minutes of 2020.
So moved,
by Councillor Fry and second by Councillor Antle. All in favor? Thank you. Contraminded? That motion has been carried. Any business arising, please? Hearing none, I'm pretty sure that what's on most people's minds these days is the COVID-19 crisis, and we'll have ample opportunity once we get through some of the city's business to talk about the impact on our community here in Mount Pearl, our province, and our country. We have two proclamations, Council. If you give me a minute, I'd like to read them to you. One is for Miles for Smiles. Whereas children are the foundation for a prosperous and innovative society, and the foundation for a child's growth and development is established when the community takes responsibility for creating environments which our children can thrive. Whereas all children deserve to have a safe, stable, and nurturing home and community to foster their healthy growth and development. Whereas child abuse and neglect is an important societal concern that may affect the long-term health and well-being of not only children, but also the adults they become. Whereas child abuse and neglect impacts our entire society and our society's future, and whereas child abuse prevention is a shared responsibility, and finding solutions requires the involvement and collaboration of citizens, organizations, and government entities. whereas this month we emphasize the importance of understanding the devastating problem of child abuse and neglect and commit to learning more about the behavioral and physical signs of possible abuse. Therefore, I, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, on behalf of my colleagues on council, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2020 as Child Abuse Prevention Month here in the city of Mount Pearl. And I further call upon communities and individual citizens to participate in efforts to strengthen families, protect our children, and prevent child abuse and neglect. And council, I signed that proclamation earlier on today with the hand of Mona Lewis. Thank you, Mona, very much. Any comments, council? Any questions? All right, the next proclamation is related to Talk with Our Kids About Money Day. And Money Day is April 8th, 2020, which I believe is that tomorrow? Yes, it is. So, whereas financial literacy is a basic foundation that is necessary for people to participate fully in the social and economic life of the city of Mount Pearl, and whereas the schools of the city of Mount Pearl region work together to ensure our young people get the best possible education to prepare them to successfully manage their future careers and financial affairs, and whereas the Canadian Foundation for Economic Education has created the annual Cross-Canada Talk with Our Kids About Money Day program. It is supported by Scotiabank. And whereas the Talk with Our Kids About Money program consists of both a home and school program allowing teachers, parents, and guardians to fully participate at no cost. And whereas the Talk with Our Kids About Money Day will be held in classrooms and at homes at the city of Mount Pearl across the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, I, Mayor Dave Aker, on behalf of the city of Mount Pearl and my colleagues, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, April the 8th, 2020, as Talk with Our Kids About Money Day in the city of Mount Pearl. And of course, I've signed that earlier on today. And Deputy Mayor, normally this would be a little bit of a topic of conversation in the schools.
Yes, indeed, Mayor.
I guess that won't be possible today, but is there a way we could reach out? Is there a way through the school system that we could still talk to our youth?
Well, we have been doing this, Your Worship, prior to this COVID closure that we're all experiencing right now in the school system. But just prior to this break, for example, we had started about financial literacy in one of my courses called Consumer Studies in particular. And one of the projects that the students were engaged in, they were each given $100,000 of Mount Pearl fake money, and they could invest in the stock market. So that's something that they had been doing now over the last close to a month now. And it's all online where they could follow the stock market and how it impacted their investments. So just before we were going, many of the students saw in real time just how their money dropped on the stock market. This is a real life circumstance now. It's a great opportunity. While students may not be physically in their schools, certainly there's going to be some chance for online discussions with their teachers later on in the school year. And also a great opportunity for the parents to speak with their children right now about budgeting, about planning for the unforeseen as we're all going through right now. So this is a very great initiative and very much needed in our school system. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Would anybody else like to make a comment? Hearing none, we'll move on through the agenda. The next item is the Community Development Report. I believe Councillor Fry is going to speak. Is that correct?
No, I think I'm going to take the first four.
Please, Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
And Councillor Fry will take the remaining four of our committee report, Your Worship. The first here for us, as Council can see, has to do with Parties Waste Management and Industrial Services, and they're located on 21 Kyle Avenue in our business park. And they have requested the construction of a new building, a tank farm actually. And this particular application involves the construction of 24 tanks. Each tank is 90 square cubic meters, I'm sorry. And it falls within the light industrial zone. And this, of course, hazardous use materials is a discretionary use for council to consider. We did go through the regular process of reaching out to businesses and residents within 150 meter radius. I think we made contact with 48 businesses. We did get response from one resident asking questions about the safety and the potential impacts. We did cancel our briefing session because nobody had indicated they were going to attend the briefing session. This particular tank farm here will meet all provincial environmental regulations. So our committee is recommending that we approve this construction of a tank farm, a new building, 708 square meters, used again as a tank farm and bulk storage of liquids such as brine and drilling muds. And we further recommend that a development permit be issued, subject to any applicable conditions as noted in our report. Further details, and council discussed this last week at our committee of the whole meeting, but we're recommending that we approve this and issue the development permit, and I so move.
It is moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Fry. Any questions, council? Any comments? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Worship. The second item for us now has to do with Vigilant Management Incorporated. And this business is located at 55 Moffat Road, dealing with 55 Moffat Road. They have requested, Your Worship, to renew a development permit for 1 year. This is a pretty standard procedure with the city. Vigilant Management Incorporated was issued a development permit as April 13th in 2018. And this was to develop land and construct a new multi-tenant commercial building at 55 Moffat Road. And this was going to accommodate or will accommodate proposed office, shop, and personal service uses. So this was issued for 2 years. They haven't proceeded with that. So they're recommending for a 1 year extension to this development permit. So it would expire April 13th, 2021. And again, nothing has changed in their original application. So again, this is standard procedure. So our committee is recommending that we extend this development permit for 1 year to April 13th, 2021, and I so move.
It is moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Fry again. Council, any concerns with this? I think you're going to see a lot of deferment going on in development in the next 6 to 12 months, and it sounds quite reasonable what you're doing. Folks, anybody else want to make a comment? All right, we'll vote on the recommendation of the committee. All in favor? And those that are opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
The third item for us, Your Worship, involves 111 Glencoe Drive, Oceanside Equipment, Newfoundland Labrador Limited. And this is for a new building, 2 buildings on the 1 lot. And this is in the industrial light use zone. We are recommending approval of the application submitted by Oceanside Equipment Limited to construct this building for storage purposes. And we recommend a proposed development and that the proponent enter in a development agreement stipulating that the land shall not be subdivided nor transferred to any third party without the prior authorization of the city, and that a development permit be issued subject to conditions as outlined in the report dated March 13th, 2020. So you may remember, Your Worship and council colleagues, that this is a building that will have no electrical, no water and sewer. It's basically for storage. And again, it's something that has been done before, so it's not new to the city. So our committee is recommending that we proceed with the recommendations outlined here, and I so move.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Fry. Questions, comments? I'll call the motion. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
And the fourth item, the last one for me, Your Worship, has to do with the Mount Pearl Sport Alliance, the first installment of the 2020 operating subsidy. We're recommending approval to release the first installment of the Mount Pearl Sport Alliance's 2020 operating grant in the amount of $87,000 to cover administration costs. And as per the memorandum of understanding between the city and the Alliance, we're recommending that we proceed with this payment, and I so move.
Again, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Fry. All in favor? Contrary-minded and carried again. Thank you.
And I'll turn it over to Councillor Fry, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to start with some new items. First of all is a tender award, and it's a multi-year agreement for the supply of shirts, shorts, and jackets for the Mount Pearl Fitness facility staff. The committee recommends awarding the tender for the multi-year agreement for the supply of shirts, shorts, and jackets for the Mount Pearl Fitness Facility staff to the one bidder, Mark's Commercial, based on reasonable pricing in the amount of $33,371.85, HST included, and I so move.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded. Council, you know, I'm confident that the Reed Center and the Summit Center are going to reopen sometime later on this year. So it's, you know, it's a little bit of money when we look at $33,000. But I'm assuming, talking to staff for a second, the order is not going to be placed until around the time we know when our facilities would reopen. What's the lead time, Director Collins, in terms of a purchase like this?
It'll be several weeks, and this is also part of the union issue when it comes to clothing as well.
Okay.
It's part of our collective agreement.
So we're just living up to our obligation under the terms of the union agreement, whereby clothing is provided.
Correct.
Okay.
Quick question, Your Worship, if I could. Sorry to interrupt.
Please.
Just wondered if there are any thoughts around why we only had one bidder on this one. I note in the report that we're talking about T-shirts and shorts and these kinds of things. I would have thought there would be lots of companies around that could provide those types of products. Any thoughts on why only one bidder?
Anybody on the committee or Director Collins? It does seem unusual, doesn't it?
I thought so.
It does. Again, I don't know why, to be honest. We can certainly follow up with procurement, but it was advertised. Went through a typical procurement process.
Oh yeah, no, I have no doubt it went through the process, Director Collins, and thanks for that. I guess I'm surprised there was only one bidder is all.
Agree.
Well, why don't we approve the motion today, if that's the will of council, and we'll ask our purchasing, I won't say department, but in corporate services, Director Pittman, maybe we could ask Mr. Whalen to follow up and see if he has any thoughts to with regards to Councillor Ledwell's question.
Thank you.
So I'll call the question. All in favor? And those opposed? And carried. Thank you.
Okay, that's a good question, Councillor Ledwell. There are a lot of really great providers here in the city.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have another tender award, and this is for the supply and delivery and installation of paper goods. One of two bidders. The committee recommends awarding the tender for the supply, delivery, and installation of paper goods, dispensers, and eco-friendly supplies for city facilities to the lowest bidder meeting specifications. And that is Chandler Sales, a division of J.D. Irving Limited. And this is in the amount of $34,419.04, HST included, and I so move.
Seconded.
It is moved by Councillor Fry and seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Contraminded? Carried. Thank you much.
Okay, next on our list is the development permit list. So the committee recommends that the following development permits be approved and presented for the period of March the 9th to April 3rd. And you'll see in your kit here, there are three development permits for a hotel, conference center, restaurant, and site work on Olympic Drive. And the one that we just mentioned for 55 Moffat Drive for permit extension for the new building and associated site work, and a new building on 900 Topsail Road. And I so move.
Seconded.
Again, moved and seconded by Councillor Fry and the Deputy Mayor. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And carried again. Thank you.
Okay, and finally for us, the committee recommends that the building permits issued for the period of March the 9th to April 3rd, showing a total construction value of $149,000 be approved. And further, that the occupancy permits list be accepted as presented. And as you can see in your kit, we have three residential permits for two interior, one exterior renovations. We have two commercial for interior renovations, and we have 4 occupancy permits issued for 2 offices and 2 home-based businesses. And I so move.
Seconded.
This is very routine, but it's nice to see some development activity still going on in the city. Moved by Councillor Fry, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? And those opposed? Question carried. Thank you.
And that's it for the community development report.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda Bear with me. I'm just going to call it back up. I'm working with two different devices here. We're going to go infrastructure, public works.
I will take the first couple of items, if that's
Councillor
okay.
Stoyles, please. Thank you.
Thank you. The first one is the committee was advised that an RFP for professional consulting services for Kenmount Road, Tapsell Road, Storm Sewer, with 6 proposals received, and we're recommending that it will go to the lowest bidder, CBCL, in the amount of 60,927.25, and I so move, and that is within our budget.
Seconded.
It is moved by Councillor Stoyles and seconded, thank you, by Councillor Ledwell. Any comments, any questions? Director Rantoul, I guess, given the current environment, do you foresee that this work would go ahead this year? I know this is the early stages of the development, but do you see ultimately that a contract can be awarded this year and perhaps a standard operating procedure under the current conditions be issued?
Yes, Your Worship, I see this proceeding. This is the pre-design and design phase with preparation of a tender package anticipated midsummer. And we'll put in place through our tender documents appropriate protocols and precautions to meet the COVID-19 requirements for construction.
And Your Worship, just to clarify, the City of St. John's has announced yesterday that they are doing the Water Street underground work as well. So just thought that would be duly noted.
Yeah, and I guess, thank you, Councillor Stoyles. And you know, in cases like that, it keeps people employed too at the same time, but we want to make sure that they are employed, which is positive, but also that they can be, they can work very, very safely, just like we would expect with our own staff. So any other comments or questions, Council? If not, I'll call the question for the award. All in favor?
Aye.
And those contra? And approve. Thank you.
I will do the next item as well, Your Worship, which is Public Works update, winter maintenance. Hopefully we won't get any more snow, and snow maintenance and ice control is under control. Household garbage is still being collected, and the water testing is still being done. Our road maintenance is still being looked at, and our traffic signals. Animal control only for emergencies. Our fleet maintenance is being done, and recycling, bulk garbage and everything is suspended until further notice. And that's it. I'm going to pass down to Andrew.
Thank you, Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Councillor Stoyles, and thank you, Your Worship. I'll just give a quick update on some capital works that we continue to do within the City of Mount Pearl, or at least we continue to get tenders and RFPs out to the public. Some of this work, of course, will undoubtedly be delayed due to the COVID-19 situation, but whatever work does happen will be done safely with all the proper precautions taken, no doubt. So first and foremost, the pedestrian walkway underpass remediation effort that we undertook, that RFP has closed, and we've been working on the submissions there. The glacier work that we had, the CP2 HVAC system, the coordinating of the start of that work is going to be starting next week. So that's good news. The upgrading at Badcock Place, the design build RFP package is being finalized and will be issued shortly to the public. The St. David's Avenue upgrading, as well as the traffic signal upgrading, the scope and the tender package there on both cases, those are being finalized and will be out to the public soon. The 2020 asphalt and concrete package, that package is expected by April 10th. The package for the street marking, that's line painting, that tender has been closed and we're in the process of evaluating the responses there. For 2020 crack sealing, that contract has been awarded already and the work will start weather pending. The Topsail Road asphalt renewal, the RFP package is being finalized. The 2020 traffic engineering standing offer, again, the package is being finalized. 2020 project management standing offer, the RFP for that one, that's being extended until the middle of April 2020. The quality assurance pieces with material testing and video inspection, those tenders are closing in April. The landscaping maintenance work that we're doing as we enter into spring, that RFP has closed and we're evaluating the proposals. And finally, on Topsail Road, the storm sewer assessment and outfall design, that RFP is closed as well. And again, we're evaluating the responses. So there is work that's happening. Some will undoubtedly be delayed once again, but all safety precautions being taken. And kudos to our staff at Infrastructure and Public Works for putting together all of these tender proposals and RFPs.
Thank you very much, sir.
A comment, Your Worship, if I
Yes,
could.
please, Deputy Mayor.
With respect to the landscaping maintenance that, that we do each year after the winter season. I had a couple of residents actually over the last, say, week or 10 days, asked if the city could give any consideration to areas that are regularly torn up, in particular where our plows go down the sidewalk and they hook into grass that's adjacent to the sidewalk. Because in many of the areas where the sods are torn, the lawn actually slopes up from the sidewalk. So the inquiry and suggestion from the residents was, when we're replacing these sods, could we somehow level off where possible, level off the sod or the landscape so that when the plow passes down next winter, it may avoid the damage or certainly mitigate the damage. So I just wanted to throw that out there as food for thought for the committee when they next meet. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. Good suggestion, because there are, the same areas seem to get tore up all the time. And thankfully, we have a good program in place whereby we buy sods. And of course, there'll be discussions in the coming days about our recreation and summer staff that get hired. And that's one of the jobs that typically gets done in-house. And if it can be done safely, I think that's a must that it get done this year. And if you can level out some of the ground adjacent to the sidewalk or the curb, it might be cost saving if you think about it in the long run. Well, good point. So we'll leave that with the committee, and we'll move on now to Corporate and Economic Development Committee, and that will be tonight. Councillor Antle, please.
Your Worship, I'll take the first three and I'll pass it over to Council Power after that. The first one is invoices for approval, and this goes back to our March the 10th meeting. And these invoices are 7 there. You see in your kit for a total of $686,265. And a couple of those larger ones. One is for the City of St. John's for $208,000 that's for our water consumption. And also you see number 7 there for $365,635. And that's for our 7 brand new trucks that the residents are going to see within the city. And I so move.
Second.
It is moved by Councillor Antle and second by Councillor Power. Any questions? I think there's another list coming, but for now, let's vote on this one. All in favor? And those opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And number 2, we reviewed our ultimate recipient gas tax agreement that would end on December 31st, 2019. We reviewed that there in committee of whole there a couple of weeks ago, and we recommend that this be approved also, and I so move.
Second.
It is again moved by Councillor Antle, second by Councillor Power. All in favor? And contrary-minded, carried. Good. I already signed the document. Thank you.
Here you go. And number 3, it's for invoice for approval, and this is for the North Atlantic Petroleum for fuel for our trucks and our equipment for the months of November, December, January, and February for $271,410.60. And I so move.
Wow. It is moved again by Councillor Antle and second by Councillor Power. I guess we got to keep the city moving. If we convert all these to electric vehicles, I wonder, Director Pittman, how much the carbon footprint would be improved, of the city. But anyway, that's another conversation. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Carried. Thanks again.
I'll pass the remaining 4 to Councillor Power.
Thank you, Councillor Antle. Our item number 4 for our committee report this evening refers to tax relief for businesses and residential property owners. And I believe that this notice has already gone out to business owners and residential property owners. So council has recommended waiving all interest on business tax, commercial property tax, residential tax, and water bills until September 30th, 2020. This, of course, is to help offset some of the economic impact that has been felt by businesses and residents during this unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. And as we've seen, many municipalities in the region and certainly the entire province have moved to, I guess, this particular waiving of interest on business tax, as well as residential tax and water bills. We certainly appreciate the hardship that has been put on our residents and our business owners throughout this pandemic event. And it's certainly unprecedented and something that we want to help support our residents and our business owners in any way possible. This is certainly a small gesture that we can do to make sure that there's less strain financially on all those affected. And I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Power and second by Councillor Antle. It's all about liquidity, folks, and working with everybody as we hold each other's hands to get through the crisis. Council, any further comments?
I had a question.
Yes, Councillor Stoyles.
I was just going to say, I guess they'll be done after anything, anybody that has any business has any special requests that would come in on a one-off. If at the end of this, if they have difficulty and want to make payment plans and things like that.
Question would be for you, Director Pittman, I believe.
Yep, absolutely. So anyone who is experiencing hardship, whether that's residential or commercial, can call us through the 1000 number and select the finance option, and we'll certainly work with them now, not necessarily when this is over, but we're starting now, and some of those arrangements have started to be made, which is actually a practice that we do anyway. So we were just continuing to offer it through this, but interest-free until September 30th.
Thank you. And I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Carried. More invoices for approval.
Item number 5, of course, is this round of invoices for approval. I know that Director Antle already brought forward some that was already approved at Committee of the Whole, and we were certainly just bringing them forward for to dot the I's, cross the T's, so to speak. So this particular group of invoices is into the total amount of $833,047.34. And as you can see, most of them are, basically our standard invoices that we have for approval. We have another road salt invoice there to the tune of $264,832. We have some sewer line repairs there as well. And I so move.
Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Power, and again, seconded by Councillor Antle. Comments? Questions?
Question.
Yes, Councillor
Your
Stoyles.
Worship, the first 3 items, I guess number 4 is more for emergency exit, and that's not an individual home. Is the first 3 individual homes with sewer line repairs? And if so, the city will recoup some of that money, right? I'm just asking the question.
Director Antle, perhaps?
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Stoyles, these had to do with individual service lines. These were done previous to this current COVID circumstance we're in the midst of now. These are for sewer linings that were done, and partial of that, there will be a responsibility for the residents per our policy for sewer line repairs. So partial to that would be payments from the residents that these lines were repaired on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion on the floor here, folks, on that one? Yes, we do. I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Carried. Payment register?
Item number 6 is our payment register. Thank you, Your Worship. For the information of council, the following payment register from March 6th to the 16th totaled $986,045.92, and the payment register from March 26th to April 3rd of this year totaled $1,156,060.24. All of the invoices, of course, all of the checks rather, are listed from the highest to the lowest amount. So if we have any individual questions or concerns, we can certainly pose them to Director Pittman.
Hearing none. Thank you very much. We'll move to is there an item 7?
There is one item left, and it is item 7, request for tax consideration. So the committee recommends approval to exempt the 2020 business taxes in accordance with policy for charitable and nonprofit organizations. And we have listed all of the charitable and nonprofit organizations that will qualify under our policy, as well as the total amounts that would be the equivalent of what their taxes would be. And you can certainly see them all listed down there one by one. Some great organizations and not-for-profits that we have residing in our city. And I know that they certainly appreciate this exemption that falls under our current policy. And I so move.
Again, it is moved by Councillor Powers, second by Councillor Antle. And this is a time-honored tradition and a necessary item, I think, for our city to support those who help support, many members of our community. Any questions, council, comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? And those contrary? And the motion is approved. Thank you. Are we done? That's the agenda? I believe it is. Let's do a roundtable, and normally we would start at the person who went second last time, but I'm not sure where we were about 4 weeks ago. So why don't I start with the Deputy Mayor, and we'll just trickle down through if that's okay with everybody. Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate that. Your Worship, we received correspondence today from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Environment, Minister Derek Bragg, and this had to do with respect to some parades, public parades that we've seen being organized or taking place. And the spirit of the parades, of course, is honorable. They're trying to lift up people's spirits and the like. But the minister is requesting that all fire departments, police, public refrain from holding such parades. They're asking all local governments to support this request and to help discourage such gatherings within our community. And the reason for this is they feel that the parades are not consistent with the recommended approach to limit vehicular traffic in the province for essential reasons only. And it's not about the parade itself when people are actually in the parade. I think the concern may stem from the fact that there could be potential gatherings prior to the parade and following the parade. And also, as they said there, and trying to limit vehicular traffic or travel to essential. So I understand the spirit of this request from Minister Bragg, and I support this. So I'd like to move that we adopt this and that we follow provincial lead and discourage such parades in the city of Mount Pearl.
I second that motion, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Stoyles. Yeah, I think what it would do, folks, if we really discovered one that was happening, at least by having this motion before council, we could at least ask our municipal enforcement people and perhaps the RNC to help us to shut it down. But we're all working together. The message from the Chief Medical Officer is stay at home, stay safe, and only go out when necessary. So it's kind of a battle to determine, I guess, for some people, what is a necessity and what's not. I fully support it. I get your point about it's uplifting, it's morale boosting. And, we do need a little bit of good news these days, but I think we got to hunker down. I think Minister Haggie today said there's a surge coming, and maybe the time for parades and relaxing some of the restrictions will come in the future. I guess we don't know when. Council, would anybody else like to talk to Jim, Deputy Mayor's motion, please?
I wouldn't mind having a few words, Your Worship.
Yes, please, Councillor Power.
I support this motion, of course. We certainly want to make sure that we're following the directive from our provincial government, which is, of course, taking the lead on setting the tone for as we move through this crisis and trying to get things under control within our own province and thereby within our country. I just want to encourage people, and while we're not trying to prevent people from reaching out and from being supportive of each other, I think we can all agree that even watching some of the parades in recent weeks and how happy some of the kids were when a birthday parade went by their house and honking the horns, and of course our workers down by the waterfront are essential workers when you have the boats sounding their horns and then the parade of cars going by and all the cheers and the claps. We don't want to discourage that from continuing to happen. It just can't happen in this particular format. So by all means, get on Facebook, get on Twitter, get on all your different, Instagram, upload your videos of yourself out on your front porch and clapping and waving, and maybe do birthday videos that you can send to all your friends when they're having a birthday, and fill their inboxes with messages of love and hope, and continue to do that. But unfortunately, we just can't have it, in a parade style fashion. Hopefully we'll get back to that day, and we'll have a parade of the masses, when we celebrate and we get through this together. Thanks.
Well said, Councillor Power. Councillor Antle, please.
Oh, sorry.
Mute Bill. Oops. Unmute Bill.
Can you hear me now?
Was that you, Mona?
Can we get one of these buttons for a council chamber?
Oh, this is just great. Right? Can you hear me now, Mayor? Perfect. Can you hear me now? Like the Verizon commercial. Just a quick note on that. I had a meeting this week with Eastern Health, and one of the things we talked about, trying to build up the morale within the community. And I certainly do support, gatherings, and we can't have large gatherings anymore. But I was questioning, with a parade, if we never had nobody else, if you stayed within their cars, how would that work? And another thing they talked about is that right now people, funeral homes are closed down. So people now are lining the sides of the roads with their cars, just to give a little tribute to the person that passed away. So will that be included in this parade also? Because, there's no other way to say goodbye to your loved ones.
It's only my personal interpretation, Councillor Antle. I don't think we would consider the intention of that directive to talk about funeral processions. I wouldn't consider that to be a parade, on the face of it, but I think it would be totally understandable to pay your last respects to a loved one or a friend. But I think the sentiment was more to do with birthday parties and the like. Anybody else get a different impression or a similar impression from? It was talked about at the news conference this afternoon with the Premier, Minister Haggie, and Chief Medical Officer Fitzgerald. Anybody else got any insights? All right, well, I'll call the question. I think it's a move forward. All in favor? And contrary-minded carried. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
All right, and the next item for me, Your Worship, speaking of funeral processions, I just want to publicly express my sympathies to the family of Karen Jones. Here's a picture of Karen for those. Karen passed away 2 weeks ago, Friday, at the age of 36. Well known in the city. Many would have recognized her at Costco. She was on the front lines up there, the self-checkout, I think, glass going off. But Karen is also a longtime Mount Pearl resident and a great volunteer. Loved the city tremendously. Recently joined the volunteer troops of Frosty Festival. She just loved being involved in our community. She also helped out me personally for the last 4 years on my Grossmorn field trips. I take high school students every year for 4 days to Grossmorn for a World Geography field trip. And Karen selflessly gave up her vacation time to come along and help chaperone my group of students. So her loss was totally unexpected and a shock to everyone involved. And I just want to send out my deepest and sincerest sympathies to her parents, to her two sisters, and all of her family. And she has a huge contingent of friends. So again, she passed, but there will be a celebration of her life once this COVID crisis ends. So I just wanted to take the time to mention Karen and express my condolences to certainly to her family and friends. And the last thing for me, Your Worship, I just want to publicly thank my council colleagues, as well as our acting CEO, Ms. Lewis, and our directors, Mr. Collins, Mr. Antle, and Ms. Pittman, for the tremendous work that our senior management and staff have been doing through this COVID crisis. As we all know, it's been said, many, many times, it's uncharted waters. There's a lot of uncertainty, but I think what the public requires and certainly yearns for during these times is someone steady at the helm, that reassures that things are under control and that we will get through this working together. And I say with full confidence, I have total confidence in my council colleagues and certainly in our senior management and the work that our management has been doing, not only through the snow episode in January, but helping us through these tumultuous waters right now with COVID. It's a moving target, as we all know. It's a changing phenomenon daily, and our management, senior management, have been putting in, countless hours to make sure that our essential services continue, to make sure that we're answering requests of any residents that come forth, and to letting people know that that we're ready, we're here. Our staff are fully prepared and ready to go to provide the essential services that are needed. So I just want to encourage people. I know it's frustrating. The greatest challenge for my wife and I is not being able to see and hug our grandchildren. But we know, as tough as that is, we know it's for the best for everyone involved. So we have to stay vigilant. We have to continue to physical distance, and we have to stay home, when at all possible. So again, I just want to send out a huge bouquet to our senior management and my council colleagues. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stoyles, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too want to pass along my sympathies to the Jones family. And in these uncertain times when we can't go and pay our respects to the families of these loved ones who have passed away, it's a different time that we're in, that we can't reach out to our friends. And when someone passes away, it's when everybody comes together in the community to pay the respects and to bring food and to do all the stuff that we normally would do. So it's certainly a different time. Also, Your Worship, I wanted to pass along my sympathies to the Tissell family. Stephen Tissell passed away a few weeks ago as well. He made it to his 100th birthday, and most of us were at his 100th birthday. And some of us did get to his wake and funeral because it was just at the beginning of when, or before the schools even closed down. But he certainly did a lot for our community, and the years of volunteer service that he put in alone here in this community and in the city of Mount Pearl. He is one of our pillars of the city of Mount Pearl. He helped build our churches. He certainly is and was an icon to Mount Pearl. And also, Your Worship, I too want to pass along my thank you to all the people who are working during these difficult times. And no doubt, in my other role working for an MHA, we are on conference calls every single day with the Minister of Health and the Department of Health and their officials. Any questions anybody has, they will get back to us within hours. It's amazing that the work that Dr. Haggie and the Premier and the health officials have done and what they have put together, and having conference meetings every day to the media, and that tomorrow the times are going to change to 6 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But the people who work in our hospitals and all the people who are working in whatever job they're in, if they're an essential service, they're out there working, no matter if they're at one of our grocery stores or whatever they're doing. And especially all our staff here in the city of Mount Pearl. This is going to be something that not only will we not forget, but our children and grandchildren will be talking about for generations to come. And the critical thing I want to say to people is, and I always say it has been something that I've said for years, until it happens to you, sometimes it don't affect you. Well, this affects every single one of us, not only in this province, in Canada and the world. So stay home, stay safe, and if you haven't got to go out, don't go out. But it is so important that eventually you will know a friend or a neighbor or a relative that has gotten this virus. I found out a couple of days ago that 2 of my close friends have the virus. So it is scary stuff out there. And we know that it's not going to affect everybody. Anybody is healthy, hopefully can fight this virus off. But the people who are most vulnerable are the people who have underlying issues and are elderly. And we have a lot of seniors homes here in our city, and they're all closed down to the public, and our parks are all closed down. That's the other thing we need to stress to people. Don't go out in the parks. Go for walks, stay with your family, go for small drives, but stay home and stay safe with your family. That's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Stoyles, and to you and MHA Lane and MHA Leicester and MPO Reagan. Thank you for all the work you're doing on the provincial scene as well. It's been pretty busy times with all of the, not only the flood of information and the changing environment, but and I know government is not making it up as they go. It's a very fluid situation. It's a virus like we have never seen before. To your point, Councillor Stoyles, this is our Spanish flu, isn't it?
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Ledwell, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to join with my colleagues in sharing sympathies and condolences with the Jones and Thistle families. There's no doubt that they were two shining lights in the city of Mount Pearl, and in this time of a little bit of darkness, we should certainly celebrate the light that they brought to life in the city of Mount Pearl. You know, they will be missed by their family and their vast circles of friends. So my condolences to both families. You know, losing a loved one at this time is certainly adding to the feelings of dread and you know, unsettling feeling that's out there. So my condolences to both families. I would like to take a minute just to thank the frontline workers, of course, the doctors and the nurses, the police officers, the fire fighters, and the folks that work in the grocery stores. But I guess most specifically, I'd also like to thank the people on the front lines with the city of Mount Pearl. Our staff are first class, top notch, and they are out there every day picking up garbage, plowing snow. I hope they don't have to plow too much more snow, but they're plowing it now. They're doing a lot of good work that they continue to provide for the citizens of Mount Pearl. So I'd just like to say a word of thanks to our frontline staff who are there day in, day out on the front lines doing their work and making us proud and providing the service that the residents of Mount Pearl certainly deserve. So my congratulations go out to each and every one of them. I know it's a difficult time to be out there. It's certainly an uneasy time to be out there. But there is no challenge that the staff of the city of Mount Pearl seems challenged by, if you will. So my thanks go out to all of those folks, and I would encourage all of our residents to stay home, as Councillor Stoyles and the Deputy Mayor have said. Stay with your loved ones. We can beat this. I'm confident there's light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll see each other on the other side. So stay safe, and my thanks to all the frontline workers.
Well said. Thank you very much, sir. We're going to move now to Councillor Fry, please.
Unmute there. You know, it's funny because I was reading through the minutes of our last meeting, and all of my roundtable was talking about upcoming events and things that were going to happen in the city and breakfast with the Easter Bunny and those type of things. And nobody would ever imagine that we'd be here in this situation where we are now, where everything is canceled. I mean, to have society come to a halt so quickly and so incredible like this, and today to even cancel birthday parades, you know, but it's all happening for a reason. It's not, you know, we're going to get through this, and I know it's hard on people, and it's hard on those who have been laid off, and it's hard on those who are stuck in the house. But we will get through this, and we have a good team behind us. I know the city of Mount Pearl. I personally want to thank all of our residents, because our residents are really abiding by these rules. I mean, I look out my window and I see people walking by, and they're 6 feet apart, and there's a lot of people walking, which is great to see. So the way, but you wouldn't expect anything less from our residents. I mean, the City of Mount Pearl residents have always come together when needed, and now they're doing their part to protect each other accordingly. And that's a big, that's a big thank you there. I know in the announcement today from the provincial government, I know we have 16 cases of COVID positive here in our community. And like Councillor Stoyle said, there is going to come a point where we are going to know somebody who has come down with this. And I guess my plea is to not, it's to not shun people. It's, yes, there's a concern. Yes, there's a fear, and there's a fear of the unknown, like in anything. But these are our neighbors and these are our friends. And if you know somebody who is sick, help them, bring them groceries or do what needs to be done. Don't fear them. Let's come together and work together as a community. That's my biggest concern, my biggest plea here today. And that's it for me. Just stay safe and continue to do what we're doing. We have a great staff. We have a great team. Thank you to everybody. And I know there have been a lot of long hours punched, and it's certainly appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Councillor Power, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I think everybody has pretty much touched on anything that I wanted to say. I do want to condolences to the Jones family as well as the Thistle family. Mr. Thistle's granddaughter plays hockey with me, so I too went to the funeral home to give my condolences, and I know it was early on with the COVID warnings and funeral homes were still open, of course, but I did see people being a little bit less forthcoming with their hugs and greetings and whatnot, but people were still there, and they were there to whether it was to just stand by and support somebody through a very difficult time as I was doing, or you can always be there for somebody in times like this. And I'm a hugger. I'm having a very difficult time with this. I had to drop groceries up to my parents and stand 6 feet away as they took them in off of the front step. And it was very difficult for me to not just run up to them and give them a hug, but we have to protect everybody who are within our circle and just outside of our circle. If you, according to Dr. Haggie today, he said, treat everybody as if they have the virus. Protect yourself and protect others. So that's how we're going to get through this. And that, as Councillor Fry had said, that's my plea to everybody in our community and anybody who's watching. Today is National Caregivers Day, as well as World Health Day. And I think that's very fitting because we are in a time where the health of the entire world is at risk. And we need to be responsible and protect each other. And the only way we can do that is by distancing ourselves from each other. So remember your mental health. Make sure that you take time for yourself. Get out for walks. I know that we've been going out for walks and people have been absolutely wonderful. When you come across somebody, if you're, coming in contact with somebody, everybody separates the full 6 feet and they just give a wink or a nod or a wave. People are there. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be struggling with this, mental health wise as well as financial. And the only way we're going to get through this is to be there for one another. But again, with that social distancing in place. So I just want to thank all of our frontline workers, as everybody else has, and kudos to our staff. And while our frontline workers are certainly at risk every day out on the streets, our insiders who are working from home and still helping to run this every day, pounding on those keyboards and getting the information out to our residents and doing all of the important, moving of documents. Is your social reprieve together with your comrades and your coworkers, and a lot of times they become your very good friends, and not seeing them for 40 hours has a real mental toll. So just take care of each other. Thank you, Your Worship.
No, thank you very much.
To condolences to the Jones. He was so happy. The only thing he didn't like, he wasn't there for his own funeral. And all the community groups, and you were there with us. He says, I'm sorry, and you'll see a GoFundMe page. We're matching donations up to $5,000. If anybody's not comfortable with going with a GoFundMe page, weeks ago, and just on an off note, I was going to talk about how much the library does, but Lake Councillor Fry says their library is so busy. But I'm down that road. I looked on, and it was the first one there, and it was Mother MEO, Jennifer. Her name is Jennifer. So I got to the person, and one line on the ground, I didn't know what was wrong. It was all happened so fast. Jennifer Taylor, she showed up. He came up with the lights on. The guy said the lights, the guy on the sidewalk, he said the lights bothered him. Jennifer Taylor, as our MEO, a lot of her residents don't see in minutes, but in seconds. She kept on talking to him all the time. She was on her phone talking to the police team. Everybody sat back and watched how good Jennifer did. So my hat's off to Jennifer, and I certainly think we should commend Jennifer. A couple of days ago, I had an opportunity to attend a Northeast Island Joint Council meeting, another meeting on Zoom. I get to like these Zoom meetings, all right? And we had this Northeast Island Joint Council meeting with Eastern Health. And I must say, Eastern Health, their information they're coming out with is very, 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 very correct. David Diamond took control of the meeting, and he explained exactly what Eastern Health was doing. But, as he was going around the room, and I'm just getting my notes again, I'm sorry. As he was going around the room, it's explained to us, what they're doing and what we can do and what all the other communities are doing. All right. And one of the things you were talking about is, timely and accurate information. And I told them what we in the city of Mount Pearl was doing. We have our COVID-19 website that we keep up to date. And they think that's a great, great website. Most towns and most communities around the Avalon are doing the same thing. One of the things they did talk about is that, we have to talk about spreading some good news. Many, many people are paying attention to what we're doing. And they were talking about so many communities are doing messages of hope. Maybe we can do something on the Summit Center, pass on some kind of hope to our residents. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And hopefully we can pass on that to everybody else. And that's everything for me, Your Worship. Thank you very much.
Well, sir, thank you very, very much. I get the sentiment from my council colleagues that we're all concerned about the health and safety of our families, our communities, and all of those essential employees, whether they be at the city of Mount Pearl or in healthcare facilities, those that protect us in the police forces, our own MEOs. But council, we have many challenges ahead of us. We have to weather this storm by working together and do things in a new way in the short run. Nobody really knows exactly when this is going to be over. But let me assure you, from my point of view, we will get through this together. No one person will get us through this. It'll take the work of an entire community, an entire council, and an entire leadership team. So I'd like to just start off by thanking our senior leadership team, Mona Lewis, Jerry Antle, Jason Collins, and Cassie Pittman. Thank you for guiding us to the last few weeks. I think this is really week 3. I think 4 weeks this coming Friday will be the date that we closed our facilities, which shows how proactive the municipalities were relative to other organizations here in the province. But council, as you know, we have to start looking down the road. There are many challenges that face us, and some of them are financial in terms of running a city. Those challenges are not just faced by us, but if we don't do a good job confronting them, ultimately we'll be in a situation where we don't have a balanced budget. And the last thing we're going to do this year is change our budget. I think we need to sit down together and with our senior management team, lead a process whereby council weighs in on how we can make sure that we're operating as lean as possible and adding value under these circumstances to the residents and businesses here in the city of Mount Pearl. And one of the complications is that we don't know when this is exactly going to end. We don't know when the restrictions are going to be lifted. So I've had a discussion with Director Pittman, and we're talking about quarterly forecasts in terms of where our budget goes, because it's not just about expenditures, it'll be about revenues going forward. So I would like to just mention a few things right off the top of my head. We've talked about some of this in committee. But you know, we could save $100,000 this year in PD. So we've already implemented a travel a ban, if you will. Nobody's going to be traveling now for the rest of, I guess, the rest of the pandemic as we know it. But we can easily save $100,000 by just reducing that budget and being more forthright in terms of our approvals. To be frank with you, the only thing we might be able to attend now is a meeting, and I see that being done based the same way we're doing it tonight via teleconference. For everybody's information, I believe I don't know if I told you, the FCM conference is canceled, and there's no other conferences going anywhere, and you just literally can't travel. So, you know, PD is going to see a substantial cut this year. And that's going to have to match up with, you know, some of the extra costs we're going to incur from the motion tonight to defer tax payments, which is going to cost us more in interest. And I suspect our tax base is going to probably go down a little bit in the short run and maybe into 2021. Some of the numbers we've been casually talking about at the senior management level, you could see a reduction in business tax of 10 to 15%. So while we don't necessarily need to get consumed with that right now, we do have to start thinking about how we can go into 2021 and maintain the same tax rates, because the last thing we want to do is to balance our budget by increasing taxes for 2021. And perhaps we might have an opportunity to reduce them. We also have $460,000 worth of positions that have been approved but not hired. These came out of the budget last year. The biggest one there is the Director of Operations, $152,000. And I would challenge all of us to sit back and scrutinize those positions. And in light of the current circumstances, do we really need to hire some of these jobs? We also have 484,000 in full-time positions that exist but are vacant. And I think that's something we should review in terms of rehiring. Currently, it's going to be very difficult to hire people in this type of environment, you know, where everything is done by video. But having said that, this is an opportunity perhaps again to evaluate whether we need those positions. One of them, for example, is the executive assistant for the CAO, about $70,000. And you look at that along with director of the water and sewer employees, the development inspector, executive assistant. I think we have a director of corporate services in the list. All of those have to be added up and could save us a lot of money in the long run. So these are going to be the tough decisions that we're going to have to make as a council on behalf of the residents here in the city of Mount Pearl. If things extend into the summer, we're going to have a very long look at how we do parks and recreation this summer. We invest upwards of $100,000 every year into events like City Days and Oktoberfest, and as well we do movies in the park. So the way we do things this summer, depending on how long the restrictions remain in place, will be very, very much different. So I'd just like to say we have a challenge ahead of us. Council, I think we should leave it initially with the senior leadership team to come up with some reforecasting for 2020, as well as a forward look into 2021 to make sure that we have the best interests of our residents and our businesses from a tax rate point of view, and we balance a budget going into December 31st, 2021. Any comments, Council? It is challenging times. We need to get through the short run, but we also need to be looking at the medium term as well as the long run. Anybody want to comment or any questions? Hearing none, thank you very much. I'll move on. I also just wanted to shout out a big congratulations for all the hard work that's been done by our senior management team, as well as the essential workers. I think I mentioned this earlier on. There's a lot of anxiety in the workforce right now because we're redoing the way we operate, given the risk that's out there, the requirement for social distancing, the requirement to stay at home. But I found our staff are up to the challenge, and I think they're starting to hit their stride. It's not business as usual, but when it's all said and done, I think you're going to find later on this year that we've delivered many of the services that we're known for, perhaps in a different way, maybe not as much as we've done in the past, given the circumstances. But we basically need to survive this and reset going into 2021. So To all of the directors and our acting CAO, a big congratulations, and please pass that on to your staff on our behalf. And I'm going to end on a final note with regards to the Summit Center. We received an update this afternoon. So council, with your blessing, I'd like Director Antle, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with the public kind of a high level where we stand and perhaps where we're going. Not that it's business as usual, Director Antle, but there is some stuff working, being manufactured behind the scenes.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. I also acknowledge council and your appreciation, acknowledgement for the staff of the city. It is certainly trying times. Our staff is rising to the occasion. Safety concerns are uppermost in our minds, anxieties, but we are working together. And I'd also make a point of acknowledging that we're working with our union as well to work on the various protocols that we're putting in place to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. In relation to the summit, it'll be 2 months tomorrow from the time that we actually close the pool. The pools at the summit, when we were doing some routine electrical maintenance, we discovered an issue. And we've been working through that with our electrical contractor and some consultants that we employed as well. The component parts to make the repairs for the summit electrical system, they've had to be manufactured from manufacturers across North America. They've now been delivered to the wholesaler, if you want to call it, in Halifax. And we're expecting them to be delivered to our city in the coming time. There are some delays as a result of some of the other issues with COVID issues. So we expect to get them soon. Our contractors are building COVID protocols right now, and we expect to be able to resume that work in the coming weeks and be able to be ready with the electrical improvements at the Summit Center for when we do resume operations.
Thank you, Director. Council, any questions on the Summit Center? It's an ongoing issue. It's not going to get resolved overnight, but it's also not just sitting, waiting for someone to pick up the ball later on this year. So thank you, Director Antle. Any questions, Council? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion then to adjourn the meeting. It's been a real pleasure, folks, working with you as always. It's been a very productive meeting, as a matter of fact. I think we've done a little bit of committee of the whole business here. Hang on for 15 minutes and we'll take a little break if you want to just stretch and you want to get a little quick bite to eat. We'll resume our committee of the whole, and I'll call for a motion, please, to adjourn. Councillor Power and Councillor Fry, all in favor? And we're done. So we'll see you in 15. Thank you very much, Ms. Lewis.